Peace and welcome to the culture here on the Black Star Network. Folks, today we got a lot to talk about. We're going to first discuss the latest ruling in the killing of Amir Locke, where the officer who is responsible for Amir's death will not be charged for his death, and that the state's attorney for the state of Minnesota said, hey, there were no wrongdoing in the cause of death. We'll talk a little bit about this. Also, Maryland's congressional map has been changed. We check in with State Senator Antonio Hayes to get some more details about it. Later, let's ask a question. Are we in an empathy crisis? Folks, you know how I feel about certain things of our culture. And it seems like right now we seem to be caring less understanding and just don't seem to care about how other people think, feel, or experience. Are we in an empathy crisis? We'll have that conversation. And then, of course, we got to talk about Black people on U.S. currency. Another Black woman will be put on a piece of U.S. currency starting next year. Is this a sign of progress and change? We'll have that conversation. Stay with us. A lot to get to. You're tuned into the culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. Folks, welcome to the show. So happy to be joining you today, man. Oh man, we got a lot to talk about it. So of course, let's jump right into it. All right, I got to talk about what has been decided upon in the killing of Amir Locke, folks. If you remember, this was the young man that was killed while he was in his home as a result of police coming into his home with what they in a strategy that he called using the no knock warrant, where essentially the police don't have to knock to let you know that they're coming there with a warrant nor to arrest. And so they came into the home of Amir Locke using the no knock strategy, and they put the key into his lock, nice and slow. Then they essentially turned the key, turned the knob, and opened up the door. When he heard the door open up, he was asleep. He got up, grabbed a gun that he was licensed to have, and as a result of that, was shot and killed by police. The no-knock warrant, folks. This is the situation that we see. We've seen the same situation with the killing of Breonna Taylor and many other cases. And so people are saying, why is this still happening? Why are police officers able to enter into a private resident's home without letting them know that they're at the door? Why is this still happening? I want to share with you very quickly, just want to share a little bit about this whole scenario of the no-knock warrant. And plus, we're joined by Culture crew member Elijah Miles. And I wanted to have this conversation. We've had these conversations before about Breonna Taylor and a little bit about Amir Locke's death. But today, when the prosecutors declined to file charges against the Minneapolis police who shot and killed Amir Locke, their basic reasoning, and throw this, if you can post this on the screen, Keenan, their basic reasoning, and I'm speaking of the state's attorney, their reason was this: specifically, the state would be unable to disprove beyond a reasonable doubt any of the elements of Minnesota's use of deadly force statute that authorizes the use of force by Officer Mark Hanneman, nor would the state be able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt a criminal charge against any other officer involved in the decision-making that led to the death of Amir Locke. Let me just break this down for you, then we bring in Culture crew member Elijah Miles. Basically, they're not filing charges because in Minneapolis, you can enter a person's home without letting them know. And so essentially, because the officers followed the rules and the laws of the no-knock warrant, they won't be held accountable for the death of Amir Locke. They follow the rules. They did what they were allowed to do under the law. I just want you to really think about this for a moment, folks. They did what they were allowed to do under the law, and even though somebody was fatally shot and killed as a result of that, they did not break the law. Let's bring in Culture Crew member. He serves as the founder and chairman of the nonprofit grassroots organization, the Tendea Family, my brother Elijah Miles. Elijah, thank you so much, brother, for always checking in and being a part of the conversations with us.
Hey, peace, brother, again. Thank you for having me.
Oh, peace, big brother. As always, you're welcome. Another situation.
Yeah.
We saw this with Breonna Taylor. Amir Locke, his case was heightened to national headlines and national notoriety. But essentially, there were no files, there was no charges filed because the police did what they were allowed to do under the law. They did not break the law, even though they broke privacy rules. And I'm saying to us as constituents, even though they were allowed to, we would question whether they should do it. The law on the books as it stands says that police, because of the no-knock use, that the police can do what they need to do. And if they are presented with a hostile arrest situation and they defend themselves, they will not be prosecuted. What's your take on this, brother?
The no-knock warrant is a license to kill you. The no-knock warrant is a setup to kill you. Because if you have somebody that breaks into your house and you have a legal firearm, you're not thinking it's police. You're thinking it could be an intruder.
Right.
So you, on one hand, have the right to defend your castle. You have a right to defend your home. You have a right to have a firearm. But if it's just so happened and you roll a dice wrong and it's police, they can kill you and be unprosecuted. I think it's an absolutely ridiculous thing that can be done to you. I think it's just a violation of your human rights. And I don't know, with the Amir Locke case, I think it's extremely sad. But I think no-knock warrants altogether should be done away with, because I think it puts the police officers in more danger than they would just knock. Because at least if you hear somebody say police and then you hear them busting into your house or whatever, that's a lot different. And people are more likely to submit to police authority than they would shoot a gun at police authority. But if you hear somebody come in your house, man, you will pick up the gun if you have it, because you don't know who that is. But it's definitely a sad case, and I think we have to fight against these no-knock warrants being on the law book in general.
I mean, to your point, a license to kill. I mean, in a moment like that where Amir Locke has a firearm, he's laying on the sofa, he got the firearm next to him. In a situation like that, the police is not asking questions about whether you are licensed to carry that firearm. All they're seeing is that you have a firearm.
Right.
And they're going to respond the way they're trained to respond. And I think human nature and training both play a role. And if you have a gun and somebody else has a gun and one person's pointing a gun at you and you got a gun with you, naturally you're going to say, oh no, I'm going to defend myself in that moment. Right.
Right.
But I think to your point of it gives you a license to kill. And it's crazy, Elijah, that something like this ever got on the books.
Right.
Let alone being used in this day and time. It's crazy that you can the police can literally come into your home without identifying themselves. And a lot of times this is not like during the early days, like in the daylight hours. This might be in the midnight. It could be before the sunrise. Man, all types of stuff are going through your mind. If somebody has a key, in the case of Amir Locke, they had a key and they unlocked the door real slow. And they wake and they turn that knob. And that's why I wanted to let people know about those small details. I mean, imagine that happening. Somebody has a key to your home that you only have certain people have keys to your home. Even your family knock on the door, hopefully.
Right.
But they got a key to your home. They put that key in real slow. They turn that knob real slow. And then boom, boom, boom. Police, police, police. They yelling and screaming commands at you. You're going to be horrified.
Right.
You're going to be horrified. Especially imagine if small children are in the home. You know what I mean? I mean, like, it is one of the, I think, along with no knock warrants, I think along with the chokehold, these are the most archaic policing techniques that I think we probably ever seen. And they're still on the books as being legal.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're still on the book. The chokehold, the no knock warrant, the training of putting somebody's knee on their neck during an arrest. I mean, damn, who are you arresting?
Right.
That you got to treat human beings like this. Let me just share with you, with folks, what a researcher at the Eastern Kentucky University, this is what he said. His name is Peter Kraska, and who studied warrants and policing. He said that no-knock warrants should be as difficult to obtain as they are dangerous to carry out. He said this practice has devolved into a mess. Once it will, again, just stop, just quit doing it. He said, put legislation in place that brings back the original intent of the Fourth Amendment. You got to get a warrant, have to knock and announce, have to give proper notice, have to give time to answer the door. And if you need to engage in a risky arrest situation or volatile, dangerous arrest situation, you figure out a different way to do it than to bust down a private residence door. Check this out. He said, figure it out. He just said this last month, Elijah. And then now we got this situation where no charges will be filed on it. I mean, it's absolutely insane to me.
And what I want people to keep in mind is just, what would you do if police bust into your home, but you don't know it's police? Somebody bust into your home. If you have a knife, a bat, a gun, what would you do? And I think they would think twice about these things. If Amir Locke would have took one of the police officers with him,
oh my gosh,
about these no-knock warrants. And what I also want the viewers to keep in mind is that Fred Hampton, 21 years old, Black Panther Party in Chicago, he was killed in a similar way.
Yeah,
where police bust in there and just started shooting. But so these things are just, they're beyond. It's unconstitutional. It's against your human rights. It's just against you as a human being, as a citizen of any country. It's tyrannical. That if I break a law, okay, if I do something to violate the law, allegedly, and you have a warrant for my arrest, no, you're not allowed to bust up in my home and just take me out without knocking, without, like, no, you're not allowed to do that. That's beyond a violation of my rights. So these things, I think, like I said, is that if Amir Locke would have took one of those police officers with him, we'll be having a real critical conversation in the country, a real serious conversation on both sides of the aisle about these no-knock warrants and how they need to be done away with.
And I think this is the reason why, Elijah, that we wanted to have this conversation without a legal representative. For me, it was like, let's talk about what the people can do, right? Like, let's talk about how, and we could talk about defunding the police all day. We could talk about the fact that the police has, in a lot of your major urban cities, the budget for police departments can take up a huge part of the city's budget. 25, 30%, hell, even 40% goes toward public safety in some cities, right? We could talk about all of those things. we may not be able to stop the flow of money. And even the president himself, I think in his latest budget, and I have to take a look at it, but one of the things about his latest budget that he has put forth to Congress, he puts more money into more law enforcement. And he put more money into and having more police in certain cities. I think that one of the big problems in this country is that we often look to police as being the solution instead of looking to people to being the solution. There is a better way to police human beings. That's what one of our watchers, Sonny, said. There are better ways to police humans because the way it's going now, it's not better. Sonny, I couldn't agree with you more. There is a better way to police human beings. Do you want to know? And I think, and I could be wrong on this, Elijah, but I think the reason why we're seeing crime so rampant is because the way that we are being governed and policed is so violent and aggressive. It's so violent and aggressive. There's a better way. And I think, like, for example, like the no-knock situation, that started back when Richard Nixon, back in the 70s. That's when he was in office. Then it gained momentum back in the 1980s, and it started to add to the conversation about the militarization of police. That's where we're starting to see it. And this is 2022. So you mean to tell me 70s and 80s, for the past 40 to 50 years, there hasn't been any true evolution of policing in this country? Actually, policing has gotten more military than anything.
Yeah.
So I think that people, I think that, you know, as much as we talk about money, take a look at the laws of police, or the ways that police do their job in your city, your county, your state, folks. Take a look at it and then say, damn, I'm sure you will be super, super surprised as to what is legal and what's not legal, what the police can do and what they can't do. You're going to be surprised. But more importantly, you know, I know one of the things that you do with your organization, Elijah, is you have conversations about, you know, social and political issues. And there has to be some conversation around, and I'm talking about local conversations around how police do their job. Not talking about money, because we may not be able to stop the flow of money. We can attempt to, but I don't think we can. But when it comes to certain laws, or when it comes to certain policing tactics, I think we can stop that. I think we can really stop that, brother.
We can definitely stop that. And I think that needs to be on our agenda. And we need to organize ourselves as citizens locally to make sure that this is on the agenda of those that we elect in office, whether they be delegates or council people or legislators, whoever we put into office, that need to be on their agenda, that we got to do away with no-knock warrants, because the victims of those no-knock warrants oftentimes are us as Black people. And so those are things that actually have to be done. And that is within our power as citizens to organize ourselves and say, yo, you want our vote, we're going to have to go in there and make sure we do away with no-knock warrants. Or else we're going to continue to be the victims of these things. And when they get around to figuring out, oh man, these things are ridiculous. When they get around to figuring that out, how many more of us have already been killed? So
yeah, I mean, for example, and I was talking about President Biden, and my team shared with me, one of my producers said, President Biden proposed more than $32 billion. That's with the B, folks. $32 billion of new spending to fight crime. This is a part of his proposed 2023 budget. $32 billion. So that call to defund the police, that's not happening from the national federal level, folks. That's not happening. Now, of course, the money comes from the feds. It trickles down to the states. The state is responsible for police. Like in the state of Maryland, for example, Baltimore City police departments or any other police departments in the local jurisdictions, they get their money from the state. So you got to go to the state. You have to go to the state. And if you go to your state lawmakers, you should go to your state legislators, that's where you start to agitate. That's where you make good trouble, Elijah. at the state level because these police departments are funded by the state. So if that is happening, then there is a possibility. And folks, let me just share it with you. Every state legislation, they should have a conversation. Every state legislation should have an opportunity where people can testify about policing in their state. We've done it here in Maryland. Every state should have you have an opportunity to testify. Go to your state capital and say, look, this is just immoral. This is unjustified. This is a license to get private citizens killed. And if we put the pressure, and we got to continue to put the pressure, this is so much bigger, because I think one of the big problems, Elijah, is that we look at the incident. We've seen what happened to George Floyd. But guess what? Do you know that the tactic of arrest is still putting knees on someone's neck?
Yeah.
Like that hasn't been erased from the book, even with George Floyd dying. That hasn't been erased. Police officers are still doing it today. Legally. So if a police officer is allowed to put their knee on your neck, right? Now, for example, in George Floyd, what took that situation to the next level was that they found that tactic led to the death of George Floyd. That 8 minutes or nearly 9 minutes of him being on his neck led to the death of George Floyd. But suppose a police officer do it for only 4 minutes. Now, a person might live, but look how much damage that they still sustain. 4 minutes on somebody's neck with your knee, your foot, that's still inhumane.
Right. So
the tactic itself still has to be eradicated in order for it to, so that way people don't die. I mean, it's insane. And you know what? It just goes to show, brother, that as much as we want to believe that we have made some progress, we haven't made any progress in policing at all. Especially if the president is still putting money to policing in a way that probably no other president has done.
And what's interesting,
what do you make of that from the president?
What I make of it is interesting that President Biden is willing to spend $32 billion of new spending on fight crime, but he is staunchly against reparations, staunchly against it. And really open about it and say, man, if it includes the Native Americans, include this, but he's staunchly against reparations. And for him and people in the past have said that, man, we ain't got the money for it. But we've been giving money for COVID. We're willing to spend money on $32 billion to fight crime. But these Black communities where police officers are on every corner in our community, are we fighting crime by persecution and destruction and imprisonment, or are the police officers there to reform, to make better, to resurrect, to restore the community? And so a lot of times these police officers, they're there for one thing and one thing only: to put us in jail, catch us with our hand in a cookie jar and put us in jail. So I think putting more money towards the Black cities, thinking about Black cities specifically, to fight crime, when we know that the Black communities and the crimes we commit are as a result of historical miseducation and mass incarceration and taking the father out the home and all this other stuff, not to make excuses, but if we know that these are the historical results of the war on drugs and things like that, then how can he justify just putting money towards incarceration and imprisonment and police fighting, but not putting money towards education and communal development and grassroots organizations and restoring and reforming these communities and people? So
let me ask you this, Elijah. As we talk about policing, we got a couple of seconds left, but what are one or two things? And I know, again, going back to the work that you do of social and political justice work in terms of bringing Black communities together as a family, what is the one or two things that we can do to create a more an environment for community policing. What does community policing look like from your vantage point?
For me, community policing looks like, I heard someone say this yesterday, where the police are the community and the community of police. I think one, we have to push for legislation that forces the police to come from the communities that they police. That's one. And then two, Black people that live in these communities that are crime-ridden, we have to organize ourselves as citizens to bring an end to the disorder that we see in our community. Because they can always justify, the system can always justify that your community is over-policed because there's so much crime there. But if we're able to get a handle on some of the crime, not all of it, that we are able, grassroots organizations, unified citizens are able to say, look, we've brought a reduction to crime through mentoring, through activity, through getting the community involved, through intervention work, through conflict resolution, then we can use that, the data of that, and say you're not justified with over-policing our community. So I think when it comes to Black people, is that yes, we have to have police officers that come from our community, but we also have to do something about how many interactions we have with police officers. And the only way we could do something about that justifiably is saying, look, we have shown as a neighborhood that we can handle the issues within our community, so we don't need you on the corner. We don't need 50 police officers in this 5-block radius. You can go somewhere else and be somewhere else, because white communities just don't with the police as much as the average Black male does that lives in the hood, and that causes a whole lot of issues.
Absolutely. I love it. Shakira checked in on our YouTube page. Good afternoon, everyone. No knock warrants need to be outlawed, period. States need to change laws on the local level. We can't seem to get the George Floyd bill passed. Absolutely. Patricia said, thank you. Communications is valid. Let us know where to go to get charged. A conversation is real important. If we don't, then we cannot help ourselves. Absolutely. God's Trumpet 2010 said, what percentage of no-knock warrants are for Black suspects? I don't know. That's a good question. I have no idea. We would have to take a look at that. They also said if the person possesses a weapon legally and has the constitutional sounds, and if the constitutional sounds like no-knock warrants violate constitutional law and should be rescinded. I think it violates civil law as well. I want to post this comment, this what Ben Crump said. Attorney Ben Crump said this about no-knock warrants very quickly. He said that warrants create chaotic, confusing circumstances that put everyone present at risk, and those people are disproportionately marginalized. This is from Attorney Ben Crump, folks. Create chaotic, confusing circumstances that put everyone present at risk, and those people are disproportionately marginalized. That's crazy, because warrants are supposed to go toward, warrants are to tell you, give you the specific details. This is the person that you need to arrest. Warrants should not create a chaotic, confusing circumstance for everybody. You should not be going into somebody's home with a warrant for one person and then 5 or 6 other people in the home feel like they're all at risk. That's just crazy.
That's the truth. Can I say something real quick, Farajii?
Yeah, go ahead, brother.
So I've been personally in Baltimore City. I've been in houses that were raided. At the moment that we're raided, I've been multiple house raids, and Farajii, they're extremely scary. Now, the police were never looking for me, but they're extremely scary. And every second, it's like time stops. Every second, you feel like you could die when that thing first starts, because there's guns everywhere. It's complete chaos. Guns everywhere. They're yelling commands at you hardly understand. You're trying to show them, look, I'm no threat, but they're on edge. And their finger is on the trigger. And so it's extremely frightening for everybody that's in the household at that moment. And man, their adrenaline is pumping. And so they're already hyped up like they're going into a battle. And I know exactly why people die in these house raids. And you add on top of that a no-knock warrant, man, people can die easily. People can die. Innocent people can die easily. And we got to do away with these things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I hope that as we in this part of the conversation, Elijah, I hope that this show and other conversations on other platforms raises the awareness. But here it is again, folks. We can't expect just a show. You got to go out and say something to your legislators, to your lawmakers in your city, your county, your states. You got to say something. You got to say something. Show up and testify. You should know at least when those when your lawmakers, the state lawmakers, convene every year. Like for example, ours is in Maryland. It starts in January, and then for 4 months they're in session. But you got to know, and you got to see. Well, how can we get this particular issue on the ballot to remove no knocks, to remove the tactics of putting knees on necks, to remove chokeholds? Those policing strategies don't work. They may not violate the law, but they violate the civil rights and the humanity of anyone that is the recipient of that type of treatment. Anyone. As long as you got a person in a state where they're no longer a threat, then that's one thing. But if you got to put their foot on your or knee on your neck, if you got to bust in somebody's residence and all of that stuff, that's just that may not be unconstitutional, but that is a serious civil rights issue, and that needs to change. Folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we come back, let's shift gears. Maryland has officially changed its congressional map. Governor Larry Hogan has decided to sign off on it. We're going to talk to State Senator Antonio Hayes to get a better understanding of what this means for Black voters in the state of Maryland, and could it possibly happen in the state that you're in? We'll have that conversation. So stay with us. We're continuing the conversation right here on The Culture, here on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Folks, as we are in election season, there is a number of states that have been looking to gerrymander their maps, essentially mean to redraw the lines based on population and resources. And this is all because of the latest census data. And so here in the state of Maryland, that fight has continued. It started with a congressional map that was proposed to by the state legislature that was given to Governor Larry Hogan. He did not like it, but now for a second time, he has approved a new congressional map in Maryland. Here to give us some insight about this whole process and much more importantly, the impact that the new congressional map will have on Black voters is State Senator Antonio Hayes. Good afternoon, Mr. Senator. How are you, sir? Oh, okay. We're just waiting on him to join us. I want to share with you very quickly. Here's what we got. I want you to throw this. Let's take a look at it before we get to the state senator. Let's look at how this situation has in fact impacted us. Keenan, let's toss this quote on the screen, because the General Assembly has decided to move forward with this new map. They said it is the job of the General Assembly to craft new maps after the census that comply with the law. We believe we have now done that with the congressional map twice. In the interest of democracy, we have presented the governor with this new congressional map and believe it complies with the trial court judge's brand new legal standard. This is from the state legislature, Adrian Jones and Bill Ferguson, both Democrats in the state. I want to bring back Culture Crew member Elijah Miles, who serves as the chairman and founder of Tendea Family, on this. As we wait on the senator, Elijah, what are your thoughts about this whole idea of redrawing the map? Because this is a huge part of the power plays that we often see, but we don't necessarily speak on. The fact that maps determine power, how you redraw the maps, how you show where each place, where folks are politically, it shows a lot of power. What's your take on that?
Yeah, it's a big power move. When you learn about political science, the census and everything attached to congressional maps and things like that is extremely important. And my perspective on all of these things is that we shouldn't attempt, neither side, Democrats or Republicans, shouldn't attempt to, in a immoral way, gerrymander or in a moral way, manipulate the territory to make it to improve their power. Because in my opinion, when you start doing things that's outside of, let's say, fair rules of play, then it further causes the divide between Republican and Democrat, rich and poor, white and black. It further causes the divide and furthers the divide that we already see in America all over the place. However, I do believe that if it's within inside the lines and it's not extreme and it's not illegal, then you should play to win. But other than that, I think these things are extremely important, and I think we should pay attention to these things. And for all the viewers out there, that's why population matters. That's why voting matters. That's why what state and territory and place you live in matters. Because when the census is called and the map is redrawn and all that type of thing, it could really flip the whole power dynamic. So.
Yeah, I mean that, and I think to your point, Elijah. I mean, when we're talking about redrawing the map, and making it, well, a couple of things: redrawing the map, and then also making sure that the map is legal. Like if the map shows the proper boundaries of where certain voters live, and then at the same time, like you said, you're not crossing the bounds of it being an illegal or manipulative situation. I mean, that's kind of hard, especially when you have a certain political party in power. In the state of Maryland, Democrats we're 2-1 in here in Maryland in terms of Democrats to Republicans. In other states, that's not always the case. But sometimes the Republicans, and I've seen this, and folks, y'all may have seen this as well, both the Democrats and the Republicans, if they're not in power right now, they can influence the redrawing of congressional maps so that way they can be in power come the next election cycle. And so that's one of the things that that's one of the things that we're seeing right now. And I guess got word that the senator is going to be joining us in a few moments, just tied up on another piece. But the thing is that these maps are everything. Definitely. And I think it's important that we also, this is, and you know, we gotta put this in its proper context. This is why doing the census is so important, just because a lot of these maps are redrawn based upon the data coming from the census.
And we don't
so
do
if say it again.
A lot of us we avoid the census.
We avoid the census.
We do,
right? We avoid the census. And look, okay, you know, look, man, look. You know, we got cell phones, we got social security numbers, but we talking about we don't want to be counted on the census.
You on the map, bro.
You know what I mean? You're already on the grid. You know what I'm saying? We got this thing like, I don't want to be counted, but you're on social media, right? Yeah. Your phone, you got, most likely you don't have a flip phone. Right. You got a state-of-the-art phone. You work somewhere, right? But you don't want to be counted in the census because you don't want them to know too much about you. They know everything about you.
Yeah, they see you, bro. They see you.
They see you.
You in the matrix.
You know what I mean? The government sees you. So I just don't understand when people are like, no, I don't need to know. Unless you harboring some fugitives or some stuff like you got a bunch of illegal residents in your home. Yeah. What's the problem? And I'm so happy you brought it up, Elijah, because I think culturally, we still have some of our people are still, you know, hesitant about the census. It's only a count. Yeah. That's it. The census only count. Yep. That's it. That's it. They don't care about your finances and that. They don't care about whether you owe student loans. It's only about how many people is in your damn house. Yeah. That's it. But then to look at it, the census also dictates how these maps are drawn. So for example, if you're in Maryland, it's a pretty stark difference that in one part of Maryland, you have more Republicans. In another half of the state, more Democrats. That's what it is. That's what it is. Now, is every state like that? Certainly not. But that's where it is. Look, I'm going to take a quick pause on this. We're going to be joined by the senator, and we're going to get more conversation going. So stay with us, folks, as we're talking about the redrawing of the congressional map here in the state of Maryland. We'll be joined by Senator Antonio Hayes. Stay with us. It's The Culture right here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show, Get Wealthy, focuses on the things that your financial advisor and bank isn't telling you, but you absolutely need to know. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is.
Holding no punches. I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Folks, welcome back to the show. We're talking about redrawing of the congressional map in the state of Maryland and the impact that it has on Black voters. We are now joined by State Senator Antonio Hayes to give us some insight about what the implications of this can be on not just Black voters, but just in the implications of power as we are in this year's election cycle. Senator Hayes, thank you so much for joining us, brother. Senator Hayes, just turn your camera on for us.
Okay, hold on 1 second.
There we go.
Yes.
There we go. How are you this afternoon?
I'm fantastic. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can.
All right. No. Hey, look, thank you for I had a chance to listen before I came on, and I heard the conversation around redistricting and how important that is, especially in communities of color and those who don't have that have some barriers as it relates to the socioeconomics of their communities. A lot of the count that we take benefits mostly, folks who have challenges and have barriers, because a lot of federal funding that we receive depend on that. But fast forward to the political implications. Farajii, when I first came to Annapolis as a intern, we had 29 members who represented Baltimore City in the House of Delegates and about 10 senators. Today, given the decline in population, we only have, 5 senators and about 16 delegates. And that's going to be reduced any further because for the first time in the history of our city, whereas we once had 1.6 million people, we have a population of only 585,000. And so, as you know, each legislative district is based on the population. If you looked at the numbers, each senatorial district has about 130,000 people. So you take that 535 and divide it into, divide 130,000 in there, that gives you an example of the representation that we should have here in the city. And so just recently, we had some delay in the approval of the congressional maps. Thankfully, we were able to the courts were able to come to an agreement on that. But here's the unique and significant thing as it relates to the congressional maps. In the history of Maryland, we've always applied the U.S. Constitution in the drawing of federal maps because obviously they're federal offices. The courts, for the first time in the history of our state, made a ruling based off of the Maryland Constitution, which applies only to our state legislative maps. And this is significant because one of the things that congressional redistricting takes into account is making sure that we have districts in which there's a likelihood of people of color to choose representation of their choice. The map that we submitted as an alternative, both the map we previously submitted as well as the map that we just submitted, are able to retain the African-American competitive races in both Baltimore City and Prince George's County as they should be. And so I think the dust has settled a little bit as it relates to the congressional maps. We've had some small victories as it relates to the legislative maps. And so hopefully we'll have some finalization of that by the end of this week.
So, Senator, talk to us a little bit about, because this wasn't the first map that was presented to Governor Larry Hogan. There was another map that was presented back in December.
Absolutely.
What did the governor not like about that map versus this map that he moves to approve, Roy?
So also, it's important to note, one of the things the governor, I think from the very beginning, since he was elected, said that he was committed to taking the politics out of redistricting and stop gerrymandering here in the state of Maryland. And so he sought out in the very first year that he was elected to put together a group of citizens. What he don't say in a lot of his public statements is that the group that he put together were all dependent upon and loyal to what he wanted to see. And what he wanted to see was an opportunity to create more competitive districts as it relates to his Republican Party. And so he put together a group which he calls the Citizens Commission, and they sought out to create some maps. And then separate and apart from that, the Senate President and the Speaker of the House put together a group, and they developed the map with a lot of public input, respecting the minority representation. And so at the end of the day, the map making process, the whole redistricting, is a legislative process. And so the map that the Speaker and the Senate President put out on behalf of both chambers and the legislature advanced, whereas the governors did not. One of the reasons that was really hard for the governor to sell his map, if in places like Baltimore City, where we have right now with 6 senators representing Baltimore City, 5 are African American and 1 is white, right? In the governor's map, he proposed that all of the African American senators would run against each other, forcing them in the same district, thereby eliminating or reducing the amount of African American representation that we would have had in the Senate. And so evidently, obviously that bill would have never passed the muster of the Legislative Black Caucus, which in Maryland, we're lucky to have the largest Legislative Black Caucus in the country. In the Senate, there's 47 members, there's 32 Democrats. And of those 32 Democrats, 13 are African American. And so why would we proceed or consider a map that would reduce African American representation as a part of the legislature? And so that map was rejected. The legislative map that the Speaker and the Senate President put forward was to advance. And so the issue that the governor had, he thought maybe if the courts would intervene and throw the map out, there would be an opportunity to increase more Republicans. And that's just not the case. I think this map respects physical boundaries like the Chesapeake Bay and others, more so than the other map did. The court said that they wanted something that showed more compact districts. And so I think this map did. And so this is the map that we're going to proceed with.
So what does this mean for Black voters right now, Senator? We know this is an election year for congressional members across the country, but for the state of Maryland, what does this mean right now? Does this mean that more Black voters, whether they're Democrats or Republicans, even though a lot of them are Democrats in this state, because we rule about 2-1, what does that mean now that this new map has been redrawn?
Yeah, I think we maintain our representation. Some critics may say that it doesn't, it's just the status quo. There's no districts where, at least according to the Voting Rights Act and its definitions, provide a competitive race where a person of color. But we do maintain the opportunities and competitiveness to retain the African American representation that we currently have.
And do we feel like at this point, do you feel like the Black leadership in this state is going to be threatened in this next congressional election?
I don't think so. I think in the Baltimore area, of course, we have the incumbent Congressman Kwesi Mfume, who's a pretty strong candidate and well known throughout the community. I don't see there being any real threat to his candidacy. In the Prince George's area, they actually have they have a vacancy where their congressional race is will be competitive, because Congressman Anthony Brown is now running for the state's attorney general. And so you have some pretty great candidates, both of which have a history of legislative accomplishments. You have Donna Edwards, who formerly served in the U.S. Congress, as well as Glenn Ivey, who previously served as the chief prosecutor for the county of Prince George's County. And so both are African-American female, African-American male. They have a competitive race. I think whoever is the victor in that campaign will represent us admirably in the U.S. Congress.
Well, you know what? It's going to be interesting, Senator, to see how everything plays out. We know that the election for the state of Maryland this year will be July the 19th, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. Yes. So the election day will be on July 19th. I think if I could say anything, especially to your listening audience, it's going to be really incumbent upon us to really take extra measures to make sure, one, people know that it's election day, and then two, that they get out to vote. We've never here in the state of Maryland had an election in the middle of July. You know, July is usually a time where a lot of families decide to take vacation and stuff like that. And so we have to remind people that there's several ways to vote. You don't actually have to show up to the poll to vote. You can vote by mail and other things. You can early vote. But one of the things that we try to apply, make available through the legislature is multiple ways to participate in the democratic process. And, if nothing else, we know that elections have consequences. If you look at, the fact that it takes the average person from Sandtown, Winchester, more than an hour and a half to get to work because of the lack of investment that we made in transportation and other things. And we look at the dilapidated housing stock that's a result of historic racism and redlining. If we don't show up and get the right people elected to office, the impact that it has on our communities and our livability are way too severe. And so it's so important that we participate. Otherwise, we defer our representation to be appointed by other people that may not have our best interests.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. State Senator Antonio Hayes. Senator Hayes is it represents the legislative district of the 40th legislative district here in Baltimore City. Mr. Senator, thank you so much for your time and being a part of the conversation today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Man, oh man, we will have to see. Folks, we're going to take another pause. When we come right back, let's shift gears. I want to ask a question that you may not think too much of, but let's talk about it, which is this question of empathy. Are we in an empathy crisis right now? Do we not care or understand of other people? Let's have that conversation. And then later on, folks, I want to talk about Black people on U.S. currency. Is this a sign of progress or change? We want to have that discussion as well. So we got a lot to get to in the second hour, so stay with us. It's The Culture here on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second hour. Today, folks, I want to have a conversation with culture crew member Elijah Miles, who serves as the chairman and founder of Tendea Family, which is a grassroots nonprofit organization that's doing work in the city of Baltimore. But I wanted to have a conversation about the issue of empathy. Yes, empathy. Do you care about other people? Like if you see someone asking for money, when you're walking down the street, or if you see a person walking up to your car with a sign, do you give money? Do you care about other people? Now, again, this is one of those conversations where you may not think about it too often, but apparently there are a number of researchers and a number of studies that have shown that empathy is at an all-time low, that we are actually involved in an empathy crisis. And that now, because of the polarization of our politics, because of the distance that we have due to COVID, that we have become more and more isolated and to ourselves. And as a result of that, we are not thinking of or understanding other people. I want to bring culture crew member Elijah Miles back into this conversation and get his take on it. Elijah, I know one of the big works that you do with your organization is getting Black people in particular to see us as family members, to see us as a part of a larger community. You know, you have these community cleanups where you're going into certain neighborhoods and throughout Baltimore, some of the roughest, toughest spaces. You're recruiting people from those neighborhoods as well as the people that you have on your team, and you're going through and you're cleaning up trash, just doing the basic thing of cleaning up trash while engaging with residents, with the children, and all of those things. So I thought this would be a perfect conversation for you because, you know, your work is really based upon cultivating a sense of understanding, a sense of care for people outside of yourself. Do you think we're in an empathy crisis right now?
I think we're definitely in an empathy crisis. But the empathy crisis is caused by we're also in the information age. And so we're oversaturated with thousands upon thousands of negative stories about what's happening in Baltimore, what's happening in the state of Maryland, what's happening in the country, what's happening around the world. It's so much information, so many stories that we become numb. And when you become numb, you just don't care. And so, yeah, 300 people being murdered in Baltimore City every year. And you know that this been happening for at least the last 6 or 7 years. And you just begin not to care. Those become numbers to you and not human beings. So I do believe we're in an empathy crisis, but that empathy crisis is caused by disunity, but also numbness. I read this story, Farajii, one time where this guy went to, I think he went to Iceland. He went to some place where there wasn't a bunch of movies and media and stuff. And he came back to America after like 5 years, and he seen someone be killed on a movie. And he sobbed crying. And so we're in an empathy crisis because we're not in a place as a country, as a people, where we can see ourselves in the shoes of somebody else. We see people die all the time. We're watching people be hurt all the time, brutalized, raped, fire, death. And it gets us to the point where it's just like, I don't care. But also, it's because with all of these stories, we're one person with 80 years on this earth, we don't have the power to do something about everything. So that has become another reason to say, man, we can't do nothing about it. I don't care. And so even if you take it to a Baltimore perspective, there's so many residents inside Baltimore City that won't do things to change Baltimore City because they don't feel like they got the power to do something. Man, it's 300 people being murdered, man, and what I'm gonna do about it, man? Things is crazy out here, so I'll just do nothing. And that lack of empathy, it feeds into a pessimism that things can't change. Things can't change, and I can't do nothing to change it. And I wish Nira was on the call because we we actually debated about this about like probably the second call I was on.
Yeah.
What I recommend people do is definitely to narrow your focus and say, yo, all right, you can't do something about everything, but maybe you can focus on your block and your neighborhood and the issues thereof and say, man, I'm going to do something about this before I get off this earth. And as you master solving the problems within your block, within your neighborhood, you can expand your focus. But oversaturating yourself with stories from everywhere, it causes you to feel powerless and it puts you in a place of like pessimism of like, dang, man, things is going bad. Especially because the longer we go for as generations, Farajii, more people are more atheistic. So we don't believe in nothing. So we've been oversaturated with these stories, feeling powerless to do something about them, getting pessimistic, and then we don't believe that there's a creator. So we therefore don't have faith that things will get better anyway. So it's no reason, it's no wonder why we drugged up and suicidal and depressed and all of that, because all of this is the soup. All this whole context we talking about is the soup to make us less sympathetic, more suicidal, more powerless, and more feeling like, man, nothing ain't going to change and nothing ain't going to get better, and we might as well all just accept it.
Right. And I think that the dynamic you just described, Brother Elijah, is right on point. I think you did a phenomenal job just kind of speaking to it. I want to just share with the folks a quote that we have from a professor of psychiatry from UCLA about this very issue of empathy. This is a quote from Professor Marco Iacoboni. And he said, quote, "We have a bigger problem. A lack of empathy for our future selves. If you have a society that is less and less empathetic, that's going to be serious because that is the glue that holds society together." This is Marco from a professor of psychiatry, but he's saying that this is the glue that holds society together. True. That the less that we care about people, the less we can truly, one, think about our future selves. And I don't think that people understand that, and maybe we do understand it and we just don't express it like this, but when you don't care about other people, then that just shows you that you really don't care about the future, your future self.
Definitely. Because
we're all connected. I mean, whether we want to accept that or not, folks, the reality is we are all connected. Like if you live in a neighborhood, you're part of a community, right? Yeah. If you go to a place of worship, whether it's the mosque or the church or wherever, you're part of a community. Like you're always a part. Even at your job, you're part of a team. You're part of the staff. You're part of, and if you don't care about anybody else outside of yourself, then that means that you're going to doom your future self to a rough situation. And I think that's very interesting that the empathy that Dr. Marco said, Professor Marco said, that is the glue to hold society together.
It is the glue. It definitely is the glue that holds society together. But it is a science to unity also. And unity is based on commonalities. But we also in the social media era. In the social media era, your algorithm is based on your likes, your dislikes, and you're being fed, you're in an echo chamber. That's the way the algorithm works. And so the problem with that, Farajii, is that we're not watching modern media no more. No one's watching Channel 13 and Channel 11, not my age group. And so we're becoming more and more foreign to each other. That's the point, is that this person over here, you talk to this brother over here, he believes, black people came from another planet, literally. Talk to this brother over here, he believed white people came from another planet, literally. And we just got these, like with the pizza, I forgot what the pizza, like the pizza with like raping kids, I forget what it was. But what
talking about that scandal, that Pizzagate scandal,
Pizzagate,
Washington, and that Washington scandal,
we're less able to relate to each other because we have less in common now, and so now when something happens to somebody, it's like, well, that's not nobody like me. Give you an example. Bombings happened all the time in different countries, and bombings still happen all the time in different countries. But when 9/11 happened, a lot of people were able to empathize because they felt like that could have happened to me. President Barack Obama, when he was in office, when one of the murders happened of a young man, he said that could have been me or that could have been my son. So
he said that about Trayvon Martin.
Yeah, exactly. Empathy is based off of unity and actually being able to see yourself in somebody else's shoes. But we also in an era where we pride ourselves about being so different. I'm unique. I'm different. I'm like nobody else. I'm an individual. I'm individualistic. I'm self-made. And that difference, it separates us to the point where we're not a society at all. We just bunch of just separate individuals under a common government. And so when that government does something against you or does something against me, I don't care because it didn't happen to me. It's studies, and I'll end on this. It's studies that say you only can build sustainable relationships with about 150 people. And there's also studies where you see like those sad commercials. Sometimes they do them in Africa. That if I tell you Johnny just need $1 a day, you're more empathetic than if I told you Johnny and his sister Sarah need $1 a day. Can you give them $2? You're less likely to give money if I tell you it's 2 people than instead of 1. So like, it's also a numbers thing too. That oversaturation of information, empathy has limits. It's still biology related to this. Empathy has limits. And so you cannot care about everything and everybody. But if you tire yourself out by reading this terrible story and reading this terrible story, you get to the point where you just like, man, you just numb yourself. I don't even care no more about anything.
Right.
And so sometimes what I would also recommend lastly is family, we got to disconnect from these devices sometimes. You have to get off of social media. You have to stop looking at Murder Inc. posts. You have to cut off CNN sometimes so that you can make sure you still humanized. Because if you're comfortable reading, 10 people just died in this house fire. If you're comfortable reading that, 10 people in your city or in your neighborhood or 10 people just got killed and you just like, whatever, you may need to take a disconnect because you're being changed by all this information you're ingesting. So this topic is deep.
And it's very deep, and which is why I wanted to have this particularly with you, Elijah, because, anytime you do work, quote unquote, for the people, I've always been reminded in my years of doing community activism, organizing work. One is to check your motivations to do that work, right? Like, do you do it because you want the quote unquote the fame? And there's no real fame in activism. If you're an activist or you're a community organizer, I don't get this new age level of organizing and activism, because when you look at Fannie Lou Hamer and other people who have done organizing work, none of that stuff was not the glory work. You don't want to do it, right? That comes from a very, very deep sense of love.
That's right.
But when you look at where we are in terms of the culture that we've created, and I think that's part of this whole thing, is like we're creating a culture of individualism that has taken over, right? Yeah. To your point, you said, I'm not like anybody. There's nobody on the planet. That's all well and good, but you're still part of a community.
Right.
Right. You're still a human being.
Right.
And I think that sometimes people get like, we want to be so different at the expense of our own humanity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we forget, like, especially if you are a Black person or you're a quote unquote conscious Black person, it's like you don't even want to think about somebody else's pain, because your consciousness is so wrapped up in your quote unquote blackness that if you hear about a bombing in Iraq, you're like, well, that's not my people. Bruh. If somebody blew up a children's hospital, you ain't gonna feel for that?
Yeah, and my issue with it is that many people that feel that way sometimes don't really love Black people in the first place. And so I think, love requires, well, first of all, Farajii, it's not cool to love people. It's not cool to love people no more. It's cool to guard yourself. It's cool to think about how people can benefit you. It's cool to feel like people are greedy and selfish, and you gotta be distrustful of them and move around and manipulate them before they manipulate you. But it's not cool to unapologetically love people. It's not cool to unapologetically love your community, love your city, want the best for people, and strive to work for the best. And it's also definitely not cool to serve people, because when you love people, that pushes you to duty, that pushes you to service. It's not cool to serve people because it's like, what do you get out of it? Well, I get nothing out of it. I'm doing it because I believe it's the right thing to do. We're not in an era where that's cool. You look foolish to people. Where it's like, yo, you around here, you just, if you say, I love my community, I want the best for my community, I'm willing to sacrifice to make things better. People like, yo, what, man? You better get in the cryptocurrency. You better you better get this money. You heard what the sister said. I'm going after the bag. And I love
right.
On the panel we was on.
Right.
That's where we at. Everybody focused on their money, and so they think of things and relates to like, how is this going to affect me? And selfishness and self-centeredness is like a major value right now in the culture, and we pride ourselves of being selfish and self-centered and focused on self. And it's so not cool to be like, I take care of myself. I make sure that I'm good because I got a duty to myself. But also, I got a duty to my family. Also, I got a duty to my community. Also, I got a duty to the world that I'm inhabiting. And I'm going to love the world and love my community and try to make this place better before I get up off this thing.
Yep.
It's not cool to think like that or be like that today.
Absolutely. Let me share what a couple of our watchers are saying. Janae checked in and said, apathy is real, but you have to condition the mind to care. And that takes work, AKA hope. I think, Janae, you touching on something for us now.
Yeah.
You said apathy is real, but you have to condition the mind to care. And we're living in a culture right now where the only person that you need that you're told to care about is you. Like we have created, like in this piece, out of this question, this was based upon a story that ran in USA Today. It talked about the fact that look at the divisions that have been set up over the past couple of years, whether you're talking about the vaccinated versus the unvaccinated, right? Or you talking about, Democrats versus Republicans, right? I mean, you think about all of the divisions that are present right now in our society and how that has created this polarization between people to the point where we don't even want to acknowledge another person's suffering or pain. We don't even want to try to understand a person's suffering or pain, or we don't want to hear what a person has to say. All of these things, all of these dynamics are at play, and we're becoming more and more less community-like. I remember, Elijah, when I heard the president, when he first got nominated, when he did his at the White House, after he did was January the 20th, I'm talking about President Biden, he was constantly emphasizing bringing the country together after President Trump. We're going to bring the country together, And I remember thinking to myself, like, man, how is he going to do that? You can't do that just through policy.
Right.
there has to be a cultural shift in this country where we stop putting so much emphasis on the I and we remove that emphasis, and now we put the emphasis on the we. It's hard to give that message of about we're all one, we're united, and all of those things. But at the same time, social media is pointing to how great I am. At the same time, everything that we see from the culture talks about how great you can be. It's hard to have that messaging about us. I remember when COVID first started. When COVID hit, y'all remember? When COVID hit, it was like, we're in this together. I remember seeing this all over the place. We're in this together. Once the vaccination came down, it was like, we're in this together too. This is the pandemic of the unvaccinated.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, you can't do that with people because, like you said, Brother Elijah, this is about a value system. If your value system is not rooted in caring about other people, that's not where your value system is, then, like one of our watchers said, can empathy be taught? Does it have to be taught? And I think so. Definitely. I think it's something that has to be taught. Like when I look at my children, I teach them, hey, you should, if you see a man sitting on the street, he asking you for some money, give him some money. My son prides himself. Dad, I gave a homeless man, $2 today. Good. Yeah. Just a simple gesture. It's just something to spark within a child that, you know what? I'm not on this planet just to think about me. When we do community work, brother, I'm amazed by people who have their eyes open up. And we're going to talk about your event later, but I'm amazed by people who have their eyes open up and it's like, man, I never thought about, I never thought about community service.
Yeah.
It's like, how can you be on this planet and all you think about is yourself? Like, you don't think about the struggles of nobody else. You think that somebody wants to be in a certain position. You think a homeless person wants to be homeless? Do you think a person that's in poverty want to be there?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's another thing. We not, love takes understanding. And we're not trying to understand each other no more right now. We're definitely not trying to understand each other. And we're not being taught to understand each other. But in order to love people and serve people, sometimes you do have to first understand them. And so even with the pandemic, a lot of people, man, if someone got real sick, you got to see the comments of celebrity. If someone got real sick and they were a celebrity and they were unvaccinated, the comments are horrible. They'd be like, man, he got what was coming to him. So like this, of course you did. Like, I don't feel bad for you. And so we pride ourselves on just being on the opposite side and being divided. And so we're in a real sad place right now, but we have to care, and caring can be taught. We have to focus on, first of all, helping people to care about the things that they went through, the things that their community went through. But then you have to extend that, the help them to focus on the world. But some of us, even with our own personal things, man, I'm good. And it's like, yo, no, you went through a traumatic experience. You're not even empathetic to yourself. You was like, man, I'm gonna shrug it off and keep going.
Right.
Or with your parents, you start listening to what your parents been through, and you like, man, it ain't nothing. So it reminds me of the Paid in Full situation. If anybody watched the movie Paid in Full with Mekhi Phifer and Cameron, it's a great movie. Mm-hmm. And, it's a hood movie. But when Ace Boogie, his main mans, got shot, he was like, man, N-words get shot every day, B. You be all right? And this is his main right-hand mans. But in the Black community, what you see is we pride ourselves on like, man, you tough, you good. People get killed every day. People die every day, man. You brothers that tell me, man, I got 5 homeboys that died in the last month. And it's like, just still walking around like it's nothing. So we first have to learn to be empathetic for ourselves, our family, our community. and then extend that thing out. But we're not being taught empathy. We're being taught get over it. And since you've been taught get over it, when other people go through things, you be like, man, it's all good. Like, that's how it is. People die, people get sick, people just be moving.
Absolutely.
And so we're moving individualistic, mind your business culture.
Yep. And look, Janelle said something. She said, empathy may have limits, but we have to get deliberate about reaching out for collective success. If people understood that you can go far as an individual, but you can certainly go further as a collective. If we understand that, like any of when we talk about Black History Month, if we talk about Women's History Month, we want to identify those men and women who have taken Black people to the next level. They expressed a high level of love and empathy.
Definitely.
We talk about Malcolm X. We talk about Dr. King. We talk about all of these great people. But one of the things that many people say, well, where is the next so-and-so? We might say, and I heard this conversation, where's the next? And it's like, why are we asking, where's the next so-and-so? Because these were individuals who tapped into a higher sense of self and not saw themselves as the universe, but they saw themselves as just a planet. And so we're looking for somebody to the next person, instead of asking, well, why am I not at that place? Why haven't I tapped into that deep sense of love, that deep sense of care about other people? Look, none of those people, you can't get a Dr. King part 2. You can't get a Malcolm X part 2. The only thing you can do is just do what you can do. If you listen to those people, you follow those people, you've ingested their philosophy. What's stopping you from being the next one?
That's right.
Or stopping us from being the next community? And I think that's the other part of it. We don't have much time to get into it today, but that level, if you're talking about leadership, especially Black leadership, it can't just be about just us. That just one or two people. It has to be an us mindset. It has to be. And I see that this crisis is happening between Black and white. I see it across the board. And I'm like, man, we're in a serious situation. But the way you brought it home, Brother Elijah, in terms of we don't even empathize our own pain. We don't take the time to just say, you know what? I am in pain. I do care about myself. I am willing to let me take a moment to reflect. Let me take a moment to process what just happened. And for example, I don't care where you stand on the situation. Of course, everybody been talking about Will Smith and Chris Rock. but look, check this out. I don't care where you stand, but it's a sad situation for both sides.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
No doubt.
It's a sad situation for both sides.
Definitely.
Like you, as Will Smith as the one that did the slapping, and then as Chris Rock, the one that's received the slapping. It's a sad situation for both sides. I was listening to Tony Rock yesterday, and I said, look at this dude.
Yeah.
This dude is going on talking about, man, you can't run up on stage or up in this stage and put your hands for me and blah, blah, blah. Like, bro, that is not the right way to deal with a situation like that. Yeah. That only makes the situation worse.
Definitely.
Like, bro, stop all that hard talking, because he already did it. It's not like it wasn't all. He already ran up on the world's biggest stage and he did that, right? But, bro, that is not the right way to handle that situation.
Definitely not.
So we can't get into a space of being judgmental because you want to take a look at both sides. I feel for Chris Rock. I really do feel for him. And I feel for Will Smith too.
I do too.
I feel for both of them, man, because it's just a bad situation. But the thing is that we just don't know. Like, it's so easy for us to not give a damn.
Definitely.
Or I don't give a. You know what I mean? That's an easy place for people to go to. It's a harder and much more rewarding place to be like, I care.
Mm-hmm.
I care.
And I feel for both sides.
And I feel for everybody. It's an easy place to say, man, these black people, I don't want to deal with them. That's easy.
Yeah.
That's easy. But it's a harder and more rewarding place for us to be like, these are my people. I'm going to serve them, and I'm going to strive to make them better until my dying day.
Mm-hmm.
That's, and we don't want to take the harder route, the more rewarding route of putting ourselves out there, because we don't want to look stupid. Serving black people, I told this to a friend of mine that came out to the event. I asked her, she works for the Urban League. I said, well, how's everything at the Urban League? She said, Farajii, they beating me up all the time. I said, that's what comes with serving black people.
Yeah.
Black people will make you want to jump out of a window, right? Yeah, you get on any platform, you provide any service, black people going to take you through the ringer. But guess what? We might be hard-hearted and stiff-necked like the Bible say, but at the end of the day, that's what's going to have to happen if you want to get us to be a better people. That's just what it is.
Yep.
That's just what it is. We cannot be so cold-hearted that we lose a sense of our own humanity. And anytime you are part of a group or community or anything, anytime you're a part of something bigger than yourself, like the work you're doing and the work I'm doing, yes, it's going to be hard. Yes, it's going to be difficult. There are going to be trials and struggles. But at the end of the day, that's what's necessary if we want to build a community, if we want to bring people together. It's never going to be. And we got to be empathetic, man. Yeah. We got to be empathetic. Brother Elijah, I got to take a quick pause. When we come right back, we're going to have a conversation about black people on U.S. currency. Is this a sign of progress and change? I'm going to share with you some of the latest news coming out of the Mint Department about more black people, more black women being on currency. We'll have that conversation. Plus, I got some trends posted doing the most. So stay with us. A lot more is coming at you in the last few moments of tonight's show here on The Culture, right here on the Black Star Network. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, folks, I wanted to talk about something that we have talked about here on the show, but there have been some latest development in this whole situation around black people being on currency. I want to bring in Elijah Miles on, is of course, chairman and founder of Tendea Family, because Elijah, there's been a number of discussions about putting black people on currency. And we've talked about Harriet Tubman. That was supposed to happen. I think that's still scheduled to happen sometime within the next 10 years. I don't know, Elijah, when that's supposed to happen, man. That thing, I have no idea. But then there also, we talked about Dr. Maya Angelou being on some currency. But then the Mint Department is also talked about, and I'm trying to pull this up real quick. The Mint Department is also putting on 4 Black women that are scheduled to be on some currency. I want to get your take on this, though. This whole idea of Black people on U.S. currency. Do you see this as being a sign of progress and change?
Again, I think it's I don't want to be on no currency, man. I think it's symbol without substance. I think when it comes to Black people, they put us on stamps, they put us on coins, they give us money for murals, they give us money for large paintings, but when it comes to doing something systematically about the people that Harriet Tubman served, Maya Angelou served, when it comes to systematically doing something about that people group that they serve and gave their life for, we ain't gonna do that. But we'll put them on a stamp, we'll put them on a coin. So I actually don't want us being put on coins until more things are done systematically to change the communities that these people sacrifice blood, sweat, and tears for. I myself am real protective of the ancestors, of Black ancestors, because for me, I don't look to Moses or Abraham or Isaac or Joseph. I look to Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and Ida B. Wells and Sojourner Truth and Harriet Tubman as the prophets and the servants that the Creator sent to us to push our community forward. So for me, I'm real sensitive about doing anything with the images of our ancestors, because I do believe that they belong to us. Now, we are in a multicultural nation, but that be the equivalent of them taking Che Guevara from Cubans, or them taking Fidel Castro from Cubans, or Mao Zedong from Chinese people. It's like these Black ancestors, they do belong to us. And though they were born in America, they belong to us. And in some ways, ironically, they were fighting against this very country. And now the country, without doing something systematically about the problems that they were trying to solve, will come take a swing back and put them on some coins and on some stamps. I think it's highly disrespectful. And yeah, I'm not for it at all, honestly.
Well, here's the first Black woman pilot that is going to be on a coin. Our sister Bessie Coleman. She's going to be honored on a U.S. quarter in 2023. But she, along with 4 other women who were pioneers in the field, will appear on select U.S. quarters in 2023. The other women being honored include a former First Lady, a prima ballerina, a journalist, and a composer. According to the Secretary of the Treasury, they selected the women following discussions with the Smithsonian's Institution American Women's History Initiative, the National Women's History Museum, and the Congressional Bipartisan Women's Caucus. Now, Bessie Coleman, she was born in 1892 in Atlanta, Texas, and was the 10th child out of 13 children born to an African-American mother. You see that beautiful picture there, to African-American mother and a Cherokee and African-American father. More than 100 years ago, she became the first Black and Native American woman to get an international pilot's license in 1921. And in 1922, she completed the first public flight by a Black woman. Here's what the United States Mint had to say about putting her on a coin along with these other dynamic women. Check this out. They said, quote, the range of accomplishments and experiences of these extraordinary women. And I want to, Keen, if we could put this quote on the screen, the range of accomplishments and experiences of these extraordinary women speak to the contributions women have always made in the history of our country. I am proud that the Mint continues to connect America through coins by honoring these pioneering women and their groundbreaking contributions to our society. This is coming from the Mint Director, Deputy Director, Ventress C. Gibson. Now, the other women that's going to be honored include Jovita Idar, which is a Mexican-American journalist, activist, and teacher. Edith Kanaka Ole, which is an indigenous Hawaiian composer, dancer, and teacher. Eleanor Roosevelt, First Lady and author. And Maria Tallchief, who is a Native American who became the first prima ballerina in the history of America. So you got 4 of the women that represent other ethnicities that are going to be put on U.S. culture, U.S. coin. But the first Black woman, of course, is Dr. Maya Angelou, and the Harriet Tubman long-awaited debut of the $20 bill is still being determined when that will return. But I just wanted to put it out there because I don't know, Brother Elijah, if this is an effort that we need to keep pushing, that we want to have more Black people on coins. And like you said, my concern is it going to be symbolism without substance? I like it. I really do like it. I like the fact that if the coins are going to be in major circulation, they can't be like a special edition. You know how they put us on some special edition stuff, like a special edition stamp only during Black History Month, some stuff like that. I don't want that. I'm talking about major circulation throughout the country, right? And it stays in circulation. But I like the idea, but I'm wondering how it's going to be interpreted, especially by Black people, Native American people, and our Latino brothers and sisters. You know, how do we make sure that our contribution to history is not going to be forgotten? How do we do that, bro?
I think it's important that we make sure that our contribution to history is not forgotten. But I think there's other ways to do it, because history is still being written today. And the implications of putting us on coins and stamps and things like that is to imply that the battle was fought and the war is won. Now, we made it out of legal segregation. We made it out of legalized enslavement. But as we see when we look at Chicago, in Baltimore City, in Detroit, in any Black cities, that there's still battles to be fought. There's still mass incarceration. There's still police genocide. There's still miseducation all over the place. So for me, I just don't like the implication that things are all right now. And with Barack Obama, President Barack Obama put some honor on his name. What they tried to do with him is imply that the battle is over. Black president. With Kamala Harris, they're trying to do the same thing. The battle is over. Everything is all right. While they, on one hand, treat her like crap while she's in office. And so for me, I'm with maintaining history, but history is still being written. And the end of the Black American story, and the battles that we are fighting, that battle is not done yet. And that battle won't be done until Black boys can walk in their community and be safe. That battle won't be done until a Black woman can actually be in office and not be disrespected and slandered by Vogue, by the President of the United States, by everybody. And the battle won't be done until Black people have solid communities again. So for me, that's my thing, is that there's still battles to be fought. And when you're in the midst of a war, you don't stop and make a statue, because in making that statue, you're implying that, oh, the war is done. Now we could chill out and be okay. And lastly, what it does for our kids is our kids grow up and they see things, the inequities in society, and they become more confused, because based on the history that they get and based on the money that they have in their hands that have Black faces on it, based on the stamps, the implication has been made to them that things are equal. Things are good. Equity is one. We straight. And so when they go out in society and they see the situations that we're growing up seeing, it blows their mind and it puts them in confusion. Like, where am I then? So for me, when we were in segregation, we knew we were in the midst of battle. But in 2022, we're all confused and surprised all the time because there's all these symbols that say everything is good, but yet the real life situations showing that everything is still the way it's always been.
Hey, brother, and I'm with you 100%. And I think that, you know, like the point you're making is so on point, and it brings me to that question that Rihanna Walker checked in on our YouTube page. She asked this question, which I think is an important one. She said, how are we going to have them on our currency, but they can't be taught in schools?
Hey, shout out to her.
How you, Rihanna, I'm telling you, how can you have all of these diverse faces on the currency, but you can't teach about Black history in schools in some places?
Can I add to a question to that?
Sure,
How can you have Mama Noble Harriet Tubman on a $20 bill and you won't give her people reparations for suffering through that time period?
Oh, let me tell you. Let's add to that part of the conversation, because people brought up that same question. People said, I know my man Christopher. He said, paper and coin money will be gone in a few years. We will soon be a cashless society. Putting Black women on some coins is not reparations.
That's right. And it's not a replacement for it.
Some people are saying, and it's certainly not a replacement for it, this is not reparations. Some people are saying too little, too late. You know, this should have been done some time ago. I mean, you know, I hope that this isn't a performative measure, but I mean, maybe, I don't know, because, you know, when something is starting to die out, Black people start, you know, then the institutions and everybody like, oh, we need to do some Black stuff before a situation dies out, right?
Yeah. And I don't want anybody to think I'm hating, you know, because I don't think anybody. No. Look. Because sometimes, sometimes people think you're pessimistic and you hating.
No, I don't. Look, man. Look, this is
Bessie Coleman on the thing. Give $100 million to put Black girls in pilot programs. Do that before you put it on your little thing.
Come on. I mean, look, bro. Look. This is not about being pessimistic. This is not about hating. This is about Black people who are simply tired of getting the short end of the stick.
That's right.
And we want some substance, man. Like, we don't want this type of, window dressing. Like, you care. Like, you really care about our history. You really care about our contributions, that you really care about our humanity. We don't want that anymore unless there's some real substance behind all of that, right?
Right.
There's some substance in policy. There's some substance in curriculum. There's some substance in the culture. Like, we want substance at this point. I don't think any Black person, any conscious thinking Black person who are asking questions about intent, about implementation, about what is going to be the implications of this, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that just goes to show you that, like you just said, you don't want to disgrace the history, the imagery of our Black heroes and sheroes by putting them on something that's dying.
Right.
The dollar has lost. If you look at it, the dollar used to be backed by the gold standard in America. That's no longer the case. So the dollar is losing its power. It's losing its power. So before somebody balls up that $1 bill that could possibly have Harriet Tubman on it, that $20 bill, and throw it on the trash, you'd be like, damn, look at that. If the dollar and if the American currency is losing its value every day, we see how the Russian ruble has just fallen apart. If the American dollar is losing its power, I would hate to see our sister just thrown into the trash.
Right.
Because America decided to do something at the very last minute to honor her, quote unquote, only to have her destroyed at the same time.
Right.
Like we didn't. The crazy part about it, Elijah, is like we didn't know Bessie Coleman was the first black pilot for the past 100 years, or like we didn't know Harriet Tubman didn't do the great work she did for the past 100 years.
Right, and we're congratulating them for successfully fighting against this society.
Right.
And so by honoring, when you honor Bessie Coleman and Harriet Tubman and disrespect their descendants, there's a contradiction there. You cannot disrespect us, dishonor us, kill us in the streets all over America, disrespect us no matter what office we hold in this society, and yet honor Harriet Tubman and Bessie Coleman. Every time you disrespect the descendants of those people, man, you're disrespecting them. So it's
absolutely,
even the honor is superficial.
Absolutely. Look, we're gonna take a quick
people. Yeah.
Huh? What'd you say, Elijah?
People. They don't love us.
Oh, you went Kanye West on them, huh? The United States government don't love black people.
That's true.
Hey man, look, as long as we love black people, we off to a good start. Hey, look, we're gonna take a quick pause. When we come back, the trends posting doing the most. Stay with us. It's the culture on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
All right, folks, you may have heard about this happening, but I wanted to bring it to your attention because I think it's a phenomenal story. And this was sort of kind of trending, but it's been a couple of days, so I would advise that we put it out there. Very quickly, the National Park Service's oldest active ranger, Betty Reid Soskin, has finally retired. Look at her. Elijah, take a look at her. Let me tell you something about her. She's 100 years old, though.
Wow.
100 years old. I mean, man, if I had a sound effect of clapping, I would clap for Mama Betty. She's 100 years old. She was hired at age 84, worked for the Park Service 15 years as a park ranger for Rosie the Riveter, the World War II Homefront National Historical Park in California. She also worked for the U.S. Air Force as Segregated Union Auxiliary in 1942, called the Boilermakers Union. A big part of her life was to voice the role of Black women during the conflict. And in 1945, her and her first husband founded one of the first Black-owned record stores in the San Francisco area. Look at her. Look at Mama Betty. Oh, look at her. 100 years old. She just turned 100. Wow. Before she retired. In 2015, she received a presidential coin, speaking of coins, from President Barack Obama, who also congratulated her after learning about her retirement. But she has been, I mean, I just love her. Look at this. She looked like she you know what I mean? She glowing. She glowing and she full of energy and life, brother. So, wow. She spent her last day providing an interpretive program to the public and visiting with co-workers. She led tours at the park and museum honoring the women who worked in factories during wartime. And then she shared her own experience as a Black woman during the conflict. She said that being a primary source in the sharing of that history, my history, and giving shape to a new national park has been exciting and fulfilling. So I just wanted to show my love, and I give a big thank you for Mama Betty. Look at her. Man, she retired. Y'all should definitely honor Mama Betty right there.
Shout out to Mama Betty.
Mama Betty, Mother Betty. All right, so we got a couple of moments left. I wanted to give you an opportunity, brother, because you invited me to be as a distinguished host. I was truly honored to be a part of something that you did over this Sunday. You had a conversation about Will Smith and Chris Rock, and you asked the question, is this the best way to protect Black women? So talk to us about that event, brother.
Oh, it was a dope event, family. I invited Brother Farajii out, and we in Baltimore City, invited him out to moderate a panel of great minds around Baltimore City doing different work, community organizers, ex-comedians, to have him to host and moderate this conversation on, is this how we protect Black women? And we didn't just focus on the Chris Rock and Will Smith situation. We even went into how it relates to Baltimore City and protecting Black women. And it was a really fruitful discussion. A lot of people came out. A lot of people walked out of there saying like, wow, this is deep. And thinking differently about how we relate to each other as Black people. Because I think that's what we get from the Will Smith and Chris Rock situation. We have to ask ourselves is what's the appropriate ways that Black men should deal with Black men in the protection of Black women. And the reason why that's an important conversation in Baltimore City or communities like Detroit or Chicago is because in these major Black communities, a lot of us, we're pulling guns on each other in our mindset for the protection of Black women. So we had a conversation about how should we deal with each other when we feel like Black women are disrespected. And it was solution oriented. It was powerful. And Brother Farajii, again, thank you for moderating such a wonderful panel.
Hey man, it was a pleasure being here. I thank you for giving us the opportunity to be a part of the discussion. You know, the discussion got so heated that I had to keep reminding myself, you're moderating, Farajii, you're not the panelist. So I was like, all right, Farajii, calm it down, brother, calm it down. But I thought the energy was great. I'm very serious. The quality of the panelists, we're going to bring them here onto the culture. But you had dynamic panelists, very different views. But one of the great things that I love about what you did was even some of them, disagree with you on some points, right? But one of the things I loved about it was the fact that I think we were all at the same place. Yeah. That like at the end of the day, is this going to be the best route for us to take as Black people, right? Mm-hmm. Looking at the situation culturally and in so many other perspectives. But it was a fantastic conversation. How can people find out more about the great work of Tendea Family?
Oh, so to find out more about Tendea Family, you can visit us on www.tendeafamily.com. But also, you can follow me on Instagram. First of all, follow us on Instagram at Tendea Family. So that's TENDEA Family, all one word. We operate so many transformative programs in Baltimore City. And if you ever in town, we'd love to have any of you out.
No, that's what's up right there. Folks are asking, was there a YouTube or is there any sort of filming of everything?
So you can follow the YouTube page at Tendea Family. So Tendea Family on YouTube, TendeaFamily@gmail.com, but it's Tendea Family. And we're posting the whole live video of the conversation or the panel discussion on YouTube in the next couple of days. So that'll be available for everybody to see. Yep.
That's what's up right there, brother.
Now definitely next week I'll bring the link too so everybody can see that because it was moderated well.
Well, I appreciate that. I wanted to make sure that we at least have some time to talk about the great work because people, I bring you on and I know people hear what you got to say, but to hear to see you at work, to see you bringing people together, brother, that's a whole different level of respect. And so, you're my little brother, but I have a great deal of respect for the work that you do. And so, whatever, that's why when you asked me, I was like, man, that's not even an issue. I'm not even going. It's not like, well, let me see, Elijah. It's like, nope, absolutely. So I appreciate you, man. There it is right there. Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
my man Keenan is on it. There you go, folks.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
So that's TendeaFamily.com. But, you know, Elijah, I know your fiance, Lady Captain Tassin, and all of the great family members of Tendea Family, y'all doing phenomenal work, brother. And so I want to make sure that we shine a spotlight on the work that you're doing and keep supporting you as much as we can. But you've been a great contributor here on the show. And I just wanted to just take a moment just to thank you for inviting me out. And then just to show you, bro, the more you do for us in terms of the culture and for Black people, I truly believe God will bless you to rise. He's going to help you to rise, man. So, you know, I'm just a guy that has a platform. But when I see you in the next 5 to 10 years, they'd be like, Elijah Miles, be like, yeah, I remember when he was on the show.
Yeah,
so wherever I go, you going with me, bro. Wherever I go, you going with me. That's my thinking. So keep up the great work, brother Elijah. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, bro, Farajii. Always a pleasure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us today. I thank each and every one of you for being a part of the conversation with us this afternoon. I want to thank Maryland State Senator Antonio Hayes for joining us for a little bit. But I also just can't thank all of you enough for your continued support of the culture here on the Black Star Network. You know, we're growing our listeners, our watchers. Our base is growing every single day, and it's simply because of you. It is really, really because so many of you are now tuning in on a regular, that you include me as part of your watching experience on Black Star Network, as you have done for Big Brother Roland Martin. And so I am extremely humbled and grateful that you have included us as part of your programming here on Black Star Network. So we need your support. As you know, we are not doing this for free, or we can't just do this for free. We need your support. That's why we ask you each and every time that we're on air, make sure that you support us. Even if you can't support Black Star Network financially, your shares and retweets and your comments, I mean, good as gold, folks. Good as gold. When you share our videos, when you share the shows, it goes out to a huge number of people. So, I mean, some of you have a vast networks that I don't even have. And you know, this show can go into places that I can't go or I can't be in. So your shares mean so much to us, and it keeps the momentum going as we continue to strengthen Black-owned media right here. So thank you so much, but make sure that you give something to Black Star Network. You can check out our website, continue to follow us on YouTube and Facebook, and of course, make sure you continue to support all of the programming here on Black Star Network. Stay tuned at the 6 o'clock hour, of course, is Big Brother Roland Martin with Roland Martin Unfiltered, who's been doing a phenomenal job continuing to covering the issues that are important to you. But I just wanted to say thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. God willing, we'll be talking tomorrow. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong. Stand for what's right while being yourself in the process. God willing, we'll talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Peace.